Hey, welcome back. We're doing more Inventor. I'm going to finish up our first assignment here. Um, remember, I keep saying it, going to keep saying it. Start on paper. Figure out your overall construction box. That construction box is really important, and it helps you go through and model everything, and you get all your measurements down before you even get started, and it makes your life a lot easier. Sorry about that. Microphone adjustment. So let's get started here. We only have 4 more parts to do. I've been flying through this because we've been doing just real basic things, and I'm just kind of working you through some of the simplest ways to do this. Granted, there's probably 100 different ways to get all these done, but the main point is we get through quickly and efficiently, okay? Remember, time is money. Don't waste money. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and let's get on with this. So let me go over here. Screen share. Engage. All right, there we go. Oh, Autodesk Inventor already launched up and ready to go for me. So I'm going to go over here and grab a new part. That's right, grab a new part. I'm going to start on part 9. So I'm going to go over here, new part, just like normal. Grab a new 2D sketch, start on the XY plane, and we're going to start with our 2-point rectangle tool, and we're going to start on the origin and drag up and over and put in our first set of points here, which is going to be our height and our width. Our width on this one is 9 tab. All right, so it's 9 by 6. Enter. Home key. And this part is pretty simple. There's something else we haven't been really doing. We've been using all rectangles. Why don't we change it up, and why don't we use a line tool? We cut off the corner by making sure we have everything on this line. We know we're going to cut off this corner, and it's going to look something like this. Make sure it's touching the line when we're done. What we don't know exactly right off the bat is how to go from this dot to the edge, and we have to figure out that measurement, which happens to be 5. Enter. So I just used a dimension tool. So line tool and dimension tool. Similarly, I had to grab this end point to the line and grab this bottom edge, and then this needs to also be 2. Now, here's something that's interesting that's important for you to note. Okay? Now, a lot of times when you deal with angles like this, all right, you're going to try to say, well, what does this angle right here need to be? Don't ever measure angles, okay? Especially for my class, never measure angles. Do everything by location. You can get whatever angle you need. The angle itself doesn't matter. What matters is where does it start, where does it end, and draw a straight line. That's all you have to know. Where does that line start? 5 away. Where does it end? 2 from the bottom. It intersects both lines. We get a start and an end. This angle is irrelevant. Okay, does that make sense? So now we can have a few options. We can extrude and just choose this profile and be done. We can go over here to trim. All right, and we could trim this excess and see how that turns into dotted lines. And oh no, failed to trim. Trim, removing blah, blah, blah. What that says is if we trim this, all right, because we're measuring to this point here, this point will then no longer exist. Therefore, the dimension can no longer exist. So we just have a line hanging out in empty space. You can do something where you make this a construction line using this little tiny tool here, and then redrawing in this little piece down here. All right, if you really wanted to, but we don't have to. I'm just going to finish this sketch and stop talking already. Hit the home key, and I'm going to just extrude this out for that profile. 4, enter, and we're done. All done with part 9. All right. Try not to get off topic too much, but there's a bunch of that other stuff that you can learn. So go ahead again. You want to save that in the same folder, and you're going to open up a new part. Make sure you're keeping your naming conventions straight. I talked to you a little bit about that in class, making sure that your parts are named they're supposed to. If everything is named part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then you're going to have all these parts are just part names that don't describe anything about what they are. So make sure you name them correctly so you save yourself a giant headache later. Anyway, I'm going to start a new 2D sketch on the XY plane, and I'm going to draw in a 2-point rectangle just like I did before, and we're going to be doing something a little different with this. This one happens to be 11 tab 6 enter, home key, and then we're going to start off with this base. I'm going to hit escape and just to unselect the tools, and let's talk about the kind of shape that we want here. I know that I need a little 1x1 rectangle in the center here. But how can I do this? Well, again, remember the lines I told you just recently that we need to know a start and an end point for a line. I'm going to hit escape to get out of that tool. So similarly, all right, with this, we can put in 2 coordinates in space and try to figure out where this is. All right, or we can draw in our entire shape. So we know it comes here, it comes straight down, and notice how it kind of locks at 90 degrees. And we also get another icon on screen, which has little red lines, little feathers on it. That says it's going to be locked to a vertical line, which is what we want. And then come over some certain amount, it doesn't matter. Notice again, it's locked to 90 degrees. See, that's 90 degrees. That means it's going to be locked to 90 degrees or perpendicular. Then we're going to come up, we want it locked to 90 degrees again. That's what we want. And then we want this to come over and touch this edge. So what we have here is a set of constraints. Okay. So we have a bunch of constraints that were shown right there. Now we can take measurements as to how big this thing is. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to dimension, click, drag off that line. That needs to be 1. Click and drag off this line. That needs to be 1. Click and drag off of this line. This needs to be 1. And now what we have to do is we need to figure out how far away this point is from here. That needs to be 2. Similarly, here, that needs to be 2. I'm going to hit escape. And so right now, we should still be able to move this up and down and side to side, okay? So now we can dimension how far up and down and side to side they are. So let me just constrain this to figure out how high up this is with the dimensioning tool. So I'll use this as a dimensioning constraint. And this needs to be 2. And so now I just have to figure out side to side. So I'm going to show you a trick here. I'm going to grab a line. And notice that when I get close to the center of anything, it kind of snaps to the center of a line as well. See how that turns green? Oh, that's good. So that turns green. Hit escape. I can then hit escape, select this line, right click on it, and make it a construction line. Where am I going with this? All right. You can actually line things up using construction lines. So here, if we grab another line, all right, do you see how it tries to line up with that line automatically? See those dots? Oh, I'm so close. Instead, I'm going to click with the center of this line. All right, I'm going to hold Shift to, it's trying to attach to everything. Let me hit escape here just to drag it off to the side just so it doesn't do that to you. Because I want to make a point here. I'm going to click up, lock this into 90 degrees. All right, and just click that in. Hit escape. Then I'm going to right click on this and construction. Oops, Control Z. I did the wrong one. All right, so I'm going to use these constraints up here. All right, now these constraints, look at this one, co-linear, same line. So I can click and click. And now look, the center point of this, which has a line that's straight vertical on it, and the center point of this, which has a straight vertical line, which are just construction lines, mind you. All right. Now I made them collinear on the same axis, so I know it's in the center. So without any measurements at all, I used geometric constraints to do that. That's pretty fancy. Now I know it would have been quicker just to drop in some numbers, but still, it's an important concept to get. These are all my geometric constraints. All right, or I can use numbers to constrain my geometry the way I want. Now I have the shape I need. All I got to do is extrude that out 3. And let's see what happens when I go to finish my sketch. And yes, I know I'm right-clicking because I'm on a trackpad. Hit home. I'm going to extrude just that portion. 3, enter, and we are done. Okay. So we've used some geometric constraints now, as well as some dimensioning constraints. Those are very helpful things to keep in mind on how to get this stuff done. So that's done. Go ahead, save it. I'm going to go work on part 11. So here we go, new part. And just like I start a new part, 2D sketch, XY plane, I'm going to grab a rectangle tool because it's easier to start from there, start directly on the origin, and start dragging up and over till I decide what size I actually need. And that size I actually need has been erased from my thing. Of course it has been, but it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to be 8, tab 5, enter, home key. Right? How do I want to go ahead and do this? I am going to, yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. So I'm going to just finish this sketch and do this one in sequence where I extrude. Just going to do it the fastest way possible. I'm going to extrude that one 5. Okay. And let's see. Oh no, it appears I've rushed and made a mistake. Not really. But let's say I've rushed and made a mistake, and this is now the wrong size. How am I going to go back and edit it? Do I have to start over? No. You have your browser. And if you don't have a browser, view user interface browser, view user interface, check that browser off. That's why it's important. I'm going to go over here and click the flyout on this extrusion 1, and you can see that sketch 1 has been consumed by that extrusion, but it still exists. So if I did something wrong, I can just double click and change it, because this measurement is really supposed to be, if I double click on it, 6, not 5. And watch what happens when I just hit enter, finish the sketch. Whoa, it automatically adjusts. Cool, huh? It's like you're learning new stuff about this software every time I build something new. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this corner. So I'm going to start off by cutting into this with a new sketch here, hitting the home key, and you've nicked off a corner here to make like an L shape, right? Start on the corner, bring this down. You should be left with something that looks like an L shape, right? So this should be 6 tab 4. Right? That gives us a remainder of 2 in both directions. I'm going to finish that sketch, and I want to cut into this, not all the way. I want to cut, but I want to cut a distance, all right? And that distance is only going to be 3. 3. Ooh, starting to look right, huh? Now I'm going to put a new sketch by right-clicking New Sketch here, hitting the Home key. And I want to cut off this corner using just a simple, make sure I get in between here. There's the green dot. Make sure you get the green dot. From there, I don't care about the degrees. I just want to make sure it touches this line. Make sure it touches that line. And then I can just dimension this here. And I guess I'll go from that dot to this edge. And that dot to this edge right there should be exactly 2. Right. So what happens when I try to extrude this now? We're going to get an error. Oh, look, it wants to extrude that. I don't want to extrude that. I'm going to click Profile. Why can't I click? Oh, no, it's not working. Why is it not working? Well, I'll show you. If you look at all this, this yellow actually turned into a line. So we're going to have to actually make sure that we have closed geometry. We can't extrude a simple shape. So if I have a shape that's like just a V here, those are just 2 lines. That's not closed geometry. I get my green dot. Now it's closed geometry. Now I can do something with it. So I'm going to hit Escape, click and drag. Notice if we click and drag to the left, whatever that line touches turns blue. If I click and drag to the right, only things that are fully enclosed in that red get highlighted. Only things that touch the green get highlighted. So I hit Delete on my keyboard. All right, I'm going to go back and close this geometry the way that I want. So click and overlap that corner. And then from there, make sure I get a green dot. And now I have closed geometry that I can cut. And I want to select this profile to cut. And just cut that off. And there is part 11 done for you. Alrighty, pretty nice, right? Only one more to go. One final one to go. So let's go ahead and get that done. So you go ahead, save it, make sure you name it correctly. Everything's in the correct folder. And then I'm going to come up here to new part. For part 12, start my 2D sketch on the XY plane. Hey, don't right click on it. Don't use a trackpad. That's also use a mouse. I can't use a mouse, but let's go back in here, and this is going to be something extremely similar to what we just did. So let's just go ahead and do this one pretty quick. This one's going to be 9 tab 6 enter home. All right, and do I just want to extrude that all the way out? You know what I'll do? I'm going to cut off a corner to start with here. So from here to here, it has to get cut off. And what is this dimension on this corner? Well, from this dot to this edge here, that needs to be 2. And from this dot, hey, I'm going to hit escape here just because I selected the wrong thing. This dot, there you go, to this, that right there, how far down it goes is 3. It's going to save me a step later. I'm going to go here, finish sketch, home key, and I'm going to extrude that profile only, and that profile itself is going to be 4. So 4, enter. And there we go. And now I'm just going to cut off another chunk of this. Again, all subtractive modeling, right click, new sketch, home key. Something else I'm going to show you. Project geometry. Project geometry will project the lines onto the sketch. Right now there's no lines on the sketch. Even though I can see the edges, I cannot use them to complete geometry. So if I go to project geometry, now watch. Oh, they all turn yellow. So I'm going to hit escape. So now they're actually part of lines that I can use to complete geometry. So if I just want to do something simple like take this to there, all right, and cut all of this stuff out, I have all of this complex geometry I then can cut backwards. But first, let's dimension so we get the correct geometry. So from here to here, that's going to be 2. And from here to here, that's going to be 3. There we go. And as long as I have completed my geometry here, I should be able to extrude. Nope, cancel. All right, so it's not making the connection at these lines, so it wants me to draw them over again. It does that sometimes. And I knew that ahead of time because generally if you have closed geometry, it turns blue like that, or whatever your color scheme is. In my color scheme, it turns blue. But I'll just use this point to show you something else. Since I'm cutting, I really don't care how much I cut, to be honest. I'm just going to cut this and make sure I have closed geometry. Why? Watch this. I'm still going to extrude. I'm going to cut. Hey, extrude. Cut. Select your profile. Uh-oh, I broke it. My laptop is not happy. It's really not happy. All right, let's go back in here. Because my laptop's not happy, I'll delete these. The point is you actually can cut something that's bigger than that space and it'll still cut it in unless your computer's RAM is getting very angry with you. So I'm just going to follow these. Here. And what I was going to wait to show you to next time is when you project geometry, because you get those errors sometimes, you actually can select all those lines and make them construction lines so the computer doesn't get confused and get very angry with you. And he's still getting angry with me. Hey, why are you always so angry with me? So I'm just going to take this line, make it a construction line. And it usually doesn't let you trim what you've projected. Nope, it's not going to. Finish my sketch. I'm going to extrude. There we go. Like I said, sometimes it's finicky. All right, and how far in do I want to extrude that? I only want to extrude that in 2. All right, So I'm actually going to leave all those mistakes in there for you. So you can just see how Inventor can be a little finicky, especially when you use project geometry. You're better off selecting everything and making it a construction line and then just using it to trace over. Because sometimes it does that to you. It can't decide what it wants to grab, especially if you have a slower computer. All right. So that's it. That's the entire first sheet done. So hopefully you learned something. We've gone through a bunch of tools, everything from setup to the ribbon bar to the view user interface browser, to the additive and subtractive modeling. So next time we'll work through the next assignment. And until then, I will see you next time.